Hello, welcome back. We're going to do a video on how to divide polynomials using long division. And we are going to set up the division. So we have the x squared plus 3x minus 4, okay, which is the dividend, and that's what's going to be divided. And x minus 1 is the divisor, that's the quantity that's doing the dividing. Okay, so we're going to set up the divisor like this. Okay, so we have our division, and basically what is going to be divided is going to be the dividend that goes inside there, and the divisor x minus 1 goes on the outside of the division box. Okay, and I'm going to teach you how to do this, and we're going to take it step by step. So we're going to take the x squared, and I'm going to do some work off to the side. We're going to take x squared, and we're going to divide it by the x. So I'm taking this x squared that's inside the divisor, and then I'm going to divide it by the x on the outside. And this reduces to just x. Okay? And the reason is because that's like that is because x squared can be written as x times x, and then you can just cancel one of these pairs out, and then you're just left with x. Okay, so I'll put an or so you can see like what I'm doing. All right, so where do we put that x? Okay, so we're going to put the x here. All right. Okay, and then now we're going to take the x, and then we're going to multiply that by this and this, and we're going to put it under here. So x times x does in fact give me x squared. Then x times minus 1 is just minus x. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to subtract these, just like you normally would in division. Okay? And we're going to put parentheses around that. And the reason why I want you to do that is because we're taking away x squared minus x. Okay? So I want you to keep that subtraction on the outside, and then now we are going to distribute that negative across the parentheses, because we're taking away not just an x squared, but a minus x. It's like saying minus minus x. So we're going to have to distribute that negative. And when we do that, when we subtract x squared, so let's do that first. A negative times a positive x squared is in fact going to give me a positive. So I'll put the sign here. And then a negative times a negative is also a positive here. So when you think about it, x squared, all right, I'm sorry, well, I'll tell you. Let me go ahead and redo this. So you gotta be careful. I said one thing, I meant to write something else. So let me go ahead and just redo this, okay? So x times x, we still said was x squared. Okay, I'll just use the same color. X times minus 1 is minus x. And then we said we're going to put parentheses around there because we're going to subtract. Okay? And when you do this, a negative times a positive is a negative. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So what happens to the x squareds? Well, if you have x squared, okay, and you're subtracting an x squared, then they're going to cancel out. Okay, they're literally going to cancel out. And then 3x, okay, plus an x is going to give you 4x. And then we can bring this down as minus 4. Okay? So you got to do those sign changes before you can combine the terms. That's the only thing. So once you multiply the x with the x minus 1, put it in parentheses and put the subtraction on the outside, so you remind yourself to distribute the negative over the parentheses, change all the signs, and then combine the terms. Because you want that first x squared term to cancel. That's the whole goal, okay? And you want to keep doing that until you can't do that anymore, just like regular division. So now we repeat the process, and then we take this first term now is 4x, and now we want to divide it by x again. Well, keep in mind that these will cancel, and then you're just going to be left with 4. All right? And I'm going to put that 4 now above this third column. I'm going to line it up. And then I would just repeat the process by multiplying the 4 by x and by the negative 1. So let's do that first. 4 times x, again, is going to give me the 4x. You should get that same term. See how they match? And then 4 times minus 1 is minus 4. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract these. But before we do that, we're going to put that in parentheses and put the subtraction on the outside so that we remind ourselves to distribute the negative over the parentheses. A negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. And now 4x take away 4x will cancel out. And then negative 4 plus 4 will also cancel out. So I'm left with a 0 remainder. So what is the answer? Well, keep in mind that the answer is going to be x plus 4. Okay? X plus 4. So the x plus 4, which in this case, okay, the x plus 4 is the answer. And that is known as the quotient. Let's do another example. Okay. So let's set it up. Instead of writing 3 plus x, I'm just going to write x plus 3. Put it in an order. Variable should be first, followed by the constant. And then put 2x squared plus 3x plus 7 inside the divisor box. So, and now we just want to start the process. So we're going to take 2x squared, so we'll do that off to the side. And we want to divide it by the first term, x. Again, you can cancel, okay? You can cancel one of the x's, and then you're just left with 2x, okay? So we're going to write the 2x above here. Going to line it up with the 3x. And then I just multiply 2x times x, and then times 3. And I put it underneath the first two terms in the dividend. So 2x times x, again, we should get that first term back. You see how it's matching? And that's how you know you're doing it right. 2x times 3 is going to be 6x. So again, our mission is to subtract. So we're going to put what we got here in parentheses, followed by the subtraction on the outside. So I remind myself, okay, I need to distribute a negative with a positive. So a negative times a positive 2x squared is a negative. A negative times a positive 6x is a negative. You see that? So when I do 2x squared minus 2x squared, they cancel. Okay? And then I can do 3x minus 6x. I'm using the red sign now as my new symbol, my new subtraction guidance, right? So let's go back. 2x squared, I'm using the negative in the red, so 2x squared minus the other 2x squared cancels. Then I start with positive 3x. I take away 6x. I'm using the negative in the red. So 3 minus 6, okay, will in fact give me a minus 3x. So write that underneath here. Now we can bring down the 7, and that's going to be a plus 7. The sign needs to go with it. Okay, and repeat the process. So we're going to take negative 3x, and we're going to divide that by x. My x's cancel, and then I'm just left with minus 3, see? And then I'm going to put the minus 3 above the 7, and then I'm going to go ahead and multiply the negative 3 by x and by 3. And we'll put it down here. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. We should get the same thing. Negative 3 times a positive 3 is negative 9. So I'm going to subtract these two. And I'm going to put this, what I got here, in parentheses and put the subtraction on the outside. And that's going to remind me I have some distributing to do. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive. Negative times a negative 9 is a positive. Those are my two new signs I'm going to use when I combine the terms from top to bottom. So now I do negative 3x plus 3x, and we all know that that cancels. Then we do 7 plus 9. Okay, 7 plus 9 is 16. So I have a remainder of 16 this time. My quotient is 2x minus 3. Okay, so here's how I want you to write it. Okay, so the 2x minus 3 is what we got from here. And there's going to be a remainder, so there's going to be 16 all over what we divided by, and that's x plus 3. So we want to make sure that we're putting the quotient here. This is the remainder. And then this guy is called the dividend. I mean the divisor. All right, you only write it like that if you have a remainder. In the previous example, we didn't have a remainder, so there was no need to write the fraction part. We just wrote the quotient and that was it. Okay, but in this case we have a remainder, so we put the remainder over the divisor, and that would be the proper way of expressing your final answer. Okay, so your final answer is 2x minus 3 plus the remainder of 16 divided by x plus 3. Okay, so it's not hard once you figure out the steps with the subtraction and everything like that. Okay, so we can go ahead and do another one. All right. And so we'll write it over here. 5x cubed plus 4x minus 7x squared. And we're going to divide that by x squared plus 2x plus 1. All right, so let's set it up. Remember, the x squared plus 2x plus 1, that's the divisor. It's always the second. Okay, so we're going to set up our division. we're going to put 5x cubed. And I'm going to rearrange them from highest exponent to least exponent. So I'm going to put the minus 7x squared, and then I'm going to put the 4x last. So I'm going to arrange them, and I'm always going to do that, and that's what you should be doing. If you want all the exponents in a polynomial, or any polynomial that's given from greatest to least. And we're going to do the same thing here. The divisor is already in order, so we could just copy it, x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so that one's all set and ready to go. And now I just take the first term, which is 5x cubed, and I'm going to divide that by the first term of the divisor, which is x squared. Okay, if you have 3 x's on top, okay, think about it like this. You can 5 times x cubed is 5 times x times x times x divided by x squared, which is the same thing as saying x times x. You can cancel a pair of x's right here, and then you're just left with 5x. Okay? So we're going to put the 5x over here. Line it up with the 4x, and then now just stop multiplying 5x times this, and that. Okay? And that's going to give me 5x times x squared is going to give me 5x cubed. That's what we want, the identical term above it. 5x times 2x is 10x squared. I'm adding the exponents. Okay? 5x times 1 is just 5x. Okay? So now I'm going to subtract. Remember, put what you got here in parentheses and subtraction on the outside. And I need to remind myself, okay, a negative times a positive 5 is a negative. A negative times a positive 10 is a negative. A negative times a positive 5 is a negative. And now I use my new signs to subtract the top terms with the bottom. So now I have 5x cubed, take away 5x cubed, that cancels. Now I do negative 7x squared plus 10x is going to give me a positive 3x squared. Okay? Oh, excuse me. A negative 7x squared minus 10 more is, I'll use the wrong sign, I'll use the plus instead of the minus. Negative 7x squared minus, that's the one in red, 10x squared. So that's going to be minus 17x squared. And then 4x minus 5 is minus x. Okay? And now I'm going to repeat the process, and we're going to go ahead and start with the negative 17x, that's the first term, divided by the first term of the other one, which is x squared. All right, so the first term is negative 17x squared, and I'm dividing it by the first term of the divisor, which is x squared. You notice that the x squareds cancel, and I'm just left with minus 17, and that needs to go up here. All right, so I'm going to put it there. And then I just take the negative 17, and I'm going to go ahead and multiply it by all of that. Okay, so a negative 17 times x squared will in fact give me negative 17x squared. You see how it's identical? Take the negative 17 and times it by the 2, and you're going to get a positive 34x. And then take the negative 17 times 1, which is minus 17, and then I'm going to subtract them. Let me make that a little neater. And when I subtract, okay, I need to put this in parentheses and distribute the negative. So let's do that now, okay? A negative times a negative 17 is in fact positive. A negative times a positive 34, okay, is a negative. Let me just go back here for a second. When I did the negative 17 times the positive 2x, I meant to say a negative 34. So everything else stays the same. I meant to say a negative 34x here. So, okay. So when I do a negative times a negative, that's in fact positive. A negative times a negative 17 is in fact positive, okay? So it's so easy to lose track with these negatives, all right? So we have to be super careful, and as long as we catch what we're doing, we're fine. That's the careful thing to be mindful of. So now we do negative 17x squared plus 17x squared. That's going to cancel. And then we do minus x plus 34x, which is going to give me a 33x. And then just that's just going to turn into a positive 17 because there's nothing else we can do, right? Just bring it down. And that's going to be the remainder. So the proper way to express the answer, remember, the quotient is this guy right here. So 5x minus 17 plus the remainder. What was the remainder? 33x plus 17. And what was the divisor? It was x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, and that would be the final answer to that problem. So it took a little work, but we were able to get it. All right. Now there is another example that I want to show you, and we'll do that over here. All right, so why don't we just go ahead and set this up like we normally would. So the x, this should be 10x squared. x4 plus 10x squared minus x plus 9 divided by x squared minus 5x plus 3. All right, so we're going to put the x4 plus 10x squared minus x plus 9. You notice the exponents are from descending order. That's called the dividend. The divisor is going to go on the outside. X squared minus 5x plus 3. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this very carefully. There's an issue with this, and I'm not going to be able to divide until I fix it. And it's not a mistake that I made. It's something that we have to add to the problem, or we have to fill in something. And you'll know what I mean in a second. When you divide polynomials using long division, you got to make sure that each term is not only has to be from descending order, from greatest to least, but the term, okay, that succeeds the one to the front is got to be one less than the exponent with the preceding term. So if you look at the divisor, x squared, right? And then you notice the exponent with the second term is x to the first power, and then it turns into the next term is a constant. But if you look at the dividend, you have x to the fourth, and then it jumps to x squared, 10x squared. Well, where's the x cubed? We need an x cubed term in there, okay? So we need to account for that x cubed term, all right? Because when we start dividing, we're going to get an x cubed term, and we need a filler so that we can combine them. And you'll know what I mean. This will come up. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this. The divisor stays the same, but we are going to fill in, I'll put it in red so we can see it, plus 0 x cubed. And then continue with the 10x squared, the minus x, and the plus 9. Now let's start our division, okay? So anywhere you see missing exponents, you need to fill them in with zeros, and then put the missing exponent with it, like 0x cubed. Since there was an x cubed missing, I put 0x cubed, not just 0, okay? And then I just start dividing away. So we're going to take the first term of the dividend, I'm just going to do it up here, x4, and we're going to divide it by the first term of the divisor, which is x squared, and then this is going to reduce to x squared. Okay, the 4 and the 2. When you divide exponents, you subtract. So technically you're doing 4 minus 2, which is 2. That's another way of looking at it. Okay, and then we're going to put that x squared above the 10x. We're going to line it up. And then I take the x squared and I multiply it by everything by the divisor. So x squared minus 5x plus 3. Okay, so I'm going to take the x squared, times it by x squared minus 5x plus 3. So we're going to do that here. Okay, now an x squared times an x squared is x to the fourth. X squared times minus 5 is minus 5x cubed. You see how the cube term appeared? And if we didn't have that 0x cubed term as a filler, then we would have a problem continuing with this division, okay? So things won't cancel out on you, and it'll cause a problem. So that's why you need that 0x cubed there. X squared times 3 is a positive 3x squared. And then we just subtract like you normally would. Let me make that a better line. So we're going to put what we got here in parentheses, and then we're going to subtract, and now we got to change all the signs. All right? So when we do that, a negative and a positive is a negative. A negative and a negative 5. A negative times a negative 5 is a plus 5. A negative times a positive 3 is a negative. So now these are my new signs. So now I'm going to do x squared minus, in red, x fourth. I'm sorry, x fourth minus x fourth cancels. Then I'm going to do 0x cubed plus 5x cubed, because I'm using the plus in red now. It's going to give me 5x cubed. And then now I do 10x squared minus 3x squared, which is 7x squared. And now I can bring down the minus x. I can only bring down one term at a time, just like you do in normal division with numbers. Now I'm going to repeat the process all over again. I'm going to take the first term of my dividend, and then I'll divide it by the first term of my divisor. You notice that x3 and x squared, 3 minus 2 is 1, so I'm just going to be left with 5x. Okay? Then I'm going to put that above here, including the sign. And then I repeat the whole process. Take that 5x and times it by x squared minus 5x plus 3. So 5x times x squared is 5x to the third power, okay? Can you guys see that? All right. we are slowly making progress. 5x times minus 5 is going to be a minus 25x squared. And then a 5x times 3 is a positive 15x. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to put this, what I got here, in parentheses. And now distribute my negative. So a negative times a positive 5 is a negative. Why did I do that again? I don't know. A negative and a positive is a negative. A negative and a negative 25 is a positive. A negative and a positive is a negative. So now I'm going to subtract 5x cubed, take away 5x cubed, cancels. That's what I want. Now I do 7x squared plus 25x squared, okay, is going to give me 32. Whoops. 32x squared. And then a minus x, minus 15 is a minus 16x. And now I bring down my 9. Remember my 9? I got to bring that down. That's a plus 9. I got to repeat the process again. Okay? So when I do that, I take my 32x squared, and that's the first term of the dividend, and I divide it by the first term of the divisor, which is x squared. These will cancel, and now I'm just left with 32, and that 32 is going to go above here. And then I take 32 and times it by x squared minus 5x plus 3, all three terms. 32 times x is in fact 32x squared. 32 times minus 5, okay, is, I believe it's 160, okay? So let me just verify that, make sure. So 32 times 5, yep, it's 160, negative 160. So, and that's x. And then 32 times 3 is a positive 96. And I need to subtract these, put the negative on the outside and distribute now. A negative and a positive 32 is a negative. Negative and a negative is a positive. A negative and a positive is a negative. So 32x squared, take away 32x squared cancels. Negative 16x plus 160 is 144x. And then 9 minus 96 is minus 87. And finally, I have my quotient, which is basically this. And then this is my remainder. So I'm going to have to write it here. X squared plus 32, that's my quotient. Then I'm going to add the remainder, 144x minus 87, all over my divisor, which is x squared minus 5x plus 3. So quite a bit of work, but just have to be really patient and work it through. Okay, so that is a video on how to divide polynomials using long division. Later on, I'll do a video using synthetic division. That's so much easier, actually. Okay? All right. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.